sometimes people ask me, what is your passion? And I must say that this word passion scares me a little bit because whatever I say is my passion, I feel like I need to know in my bones that I absolutely love this thing and that I have 100% commitment and dedication to it. Now, for some of you, you might know exactly what this thing is that you call your passion. But I'm pretty sure that for the majority of you, things don't come screaming at you like, this is my passion. And rather, you are looking for something that you are simply drawn to. And this is where the practice of curiosity comes in. Now, I really like the way a writer, Elizabeth Gilbert, describes about this practice of curiosity. And she describes about an episode of when she had absolutely no idea what to write for her next book. Now, this is a really scary thing to not know and to be in such uncertainty. But rather than running away from this uncertainty, she decided to lean into it. And every morning she would wake up and do this like CAT scan of her consciousness to look for a little patch of sparkle or light. Anything that was like bubbling up within her that was remotely interesting to her. And so when she did this CAT scan every day, she landed on gardening, which has absolutely nothing to do with writing, but she went for it. And she bought some plants and planted them in her garden. And as she was pottering around in her garden, she started to wonder, like, where do these plants come from? And so then she went on the internet and did a quick, 2-minute research to find out more about where these plants came from. And then she started to wonder, like, I wonder what kind of people were trading these plants back then. So then she started to go to libraries to find out more about the origins of these plants. And then she even took trips to where these plants came from. And so she started to go on this big journey that started with this little patch of curiosity. And then gradually over time, it turned into something that she has come to love. And it actually turned into her next book. So this is the practice of curiosity. It starts with this gentle whisper of invitation. And rather than ignoring it, it's about responding to it with a yes. And then after that, it's about listening in for these tiny little invitations that follow and responding to them with a steadfast yes. It's almost like you're pulling on this rope, following this rope of curiosity. And sometimes when you follow that, it, grows into something that you come to love. But sometimes, the rope doesn't go anywhere, but that's okay because, you're not really losing anything from that. And so when I think back to my yoga journey, I think it's quite similar. It started around 2007 when I started to notice, people around me talk more and more about yoga. And every time I would hear this word yoga, I would get this little flutter in my chest. I'm kind of curious about that. And then one day I garnered enough courage to go to a yoga class. Even though I was the stiffest person that I knew around me. And I did this whole session of yoga and I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite enjoy it. So I didn't go back for another class. But then I would still hear my friends talk about yoga, and every time they did, I get this little flutter in my chest. So after several months, I went back to another class and I did it. And I didn't quite get it still. And then several months will pass by. So this repeated for several years. until in 2011, I moved to Vietnam and there was a yoga studio close by. So I started to go more frequently. But when I say more frequently, it's like I started to go with weeks in between classes rather than months in between. But it was only like a year or two later that my job came to a halt and I didn't really know what I was doing with my time. And I came across a poster that said yoga teacher training. And something spoke to me like, you must go for it. Even though I didn't have a strong practice of yoga at all back then. And I listened to that voice and I went for it. And it was really, really hard. But at the same time, I learned about the physical benefits of yoga as well as the philosophy behind yoga. And then I started to get more curious. So I started to read more books. I attended more workshops. I started to practice every single day. And then I started to teach yoga classes myself. And now I'm at a point where I'm teaching a mindful leadership course at a school that's based on years of my yoga training. So this has kind of turned into this 13-year journey, which started with a little patch of curiosity. And now I can honestly say that it has grown into something that I have really started to love. Yeah. And so if you wait for passion to come to you, I think you'll be waiting for a really long time. If you are sitting at your home waiting for passion to strike you, I think you'll be sitting forever. But instead, you can take the scavenger hunt of curiosity, and it starts with this impulse that barely has any life in it. It's so quiet that you can barely hear it. But that's where it all starts. So the next practice is about listening in for this impulse that exists within you.